Okay, so I started that. So maybe we are now visible to our dear audience. So if you see us, if you watch us right now, so hello to everyone. Hi, guys. Today, I'm going to introduce you some special person, very special. It's a doctor, professor. Yeah, I can say it in this way.
Yes. Yeah.
Barbara C. Say yay. Am I right?
That's it. Say yay. Say yes.
Say yay, Morrison. And what we are going to talk about today for you. Barbara is a very special person to me because we met in Koh Samui, on the island here, and we were talking about some principles of life, about potential, about being authentic. Yeah. So my English is not perfect, Barbara. You can just help me sometimes if I pronounce not well.
No, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. And we were discussing about the life, like itself, or why we are here, what we should do with the powers we have, and what is it to have a good life like. So I'm going to ask Barbara about these things, because now listen, something about you, Barbara, is Barbara, the professor, is ordained Buddhist?
Ordained. Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Thank you. Ordained Buddhist priest in Shingon, a Buddhist tradition, and in 2021 graduated of the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Training Certificate Program.
Actually, that was 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Okay, thank you. She's also an associate professor in the International Department of Utsunomiya University, Japan, where she teaches gender studies, writing, and contemplative inquiry. Am I right?
Yes, yes,
That's right?
yes.
That's correct.
Yes, I'll have to update you because some things have changed in the last year, but basically fine.
Yeah. And you wrote this beautiful book I have here from you. It's called Nature's Narrative.
Right.
And what is amazing about you, Barbara, is that you were teaching 20 years in Japan, in Japanese universities. So it's like wow. So I have questions for you guys. If you like this, share this. We would be very grateful for that. Just write your comments below the video. I love them. So, and of course, subscribe if you are new here. So my first question on you, Barbara, is, you were born in America. Yeah. You're a professor, you were teaching in America. After that, you moved to Japan. So what is the main difference between these two cultures? Because I cannot imagine. Wow, my God, just Japan, USA. When you look back, how do you feel about it? What did you learn in Japan and what did you learn in America?
Wow. Okay, let's dive in. In a word, I'll say two ways. One is from the heart and one is from the head. Okay. So from the head, I was in college and I was interested in the individual and the collective. And I was interested in how those two operate, how they work. Because in America, and this was in the 80s, the emphasis on individual, me, individual, me, I, was so strong. And I didn't really, something was uncomfortable for me. I mean, it was too much. For me, we're born individuals. I mean, I have skin, I'm in this body. I am an individual. And so why are we spending so much time on that? Because that seems so clear. And I was questioning, why aren't we spending more time on the relations between people, on community, on interaction, yes, interaction. And so I had an opportunity to go to Japan. And when I came to Japan, I was suddenly felt community. Everything was interrelated. Everything was interrelated. And so now I'll move to the heart. So my feeling was when I arrived in Japan, it had been as if I had been in the desert.
Wow.
For most of my growth. And when I went to Japan, I was in my early 20s at that time, the first time. And I felt as if I suddenly found an oasis in the desert. And because people actually cared about other people. I mean, really, I mean, it was built into the fabric of the atmosphere, of relationships. And it was built into the language, which I think languages are very important because they reveal the mind of a culture. And the language, it's very interactive. Sentences never really come to an end. They get picked up in conversation. And there's a words called aizuchi in Japanese. And aizuchi is this, ha 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 ha, so, so desu ka, and this kind of interaction was just beautiful. It was beautiful. I loved it.
It's very interesting, Barbara, because, you know, I was in America, like in New York and, you know, Las Vegas, and there is some rumors that people in America, they're friendly, but basically not honestly all the time. Like they ask you questions like, how are you? And I have this experience, and I have a different experience as well, because everyone is individual. Yeah. But, but when you said that you felt some touch of community, why do you think that people from America are, you know, people think that about them, that they're a little superficial? Where does it come from? Yeah.
I think rather than superficial, I think oftentimes they feel separate.
Separate.
Yeah, separate. And I think a lot of that comes from the culture, because look at the origins of the country.
Yeah.
You know, for at least some of the country. I mean, I have to be careful here because it already was a country, you know. I mean, people were living there and were decimated, right? They were absolutely annihilated by the colonialists, the settlers, and all that. So I speak from a very limited perspective. My perspective is Anglo-Saxon, basically. Yeah. But in put it this way, circles that I have traveled, and it's different because there's so many different communities in the States. I mean, there are Scandinavian communities, there are African-American communities, there are, you know, Spanish. I mean, there's so much happening in America. I will say that. And it's difficult for people to connect. But at the same time, I have to say, Americans are so accustomed to speaking across cultures in a way that they can be very clear.
Yeah. Very
clear, at least initially. But there's a trust that I find missing. Trust is not an easy dynamic for many people and for many good reasons. Yeah, many good reasons.
I'm going to ask you about the principles of life or potential, but let me ask you one more questions about the cultures. You were studying and teaching genders, is it correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So now we see in Europe as well, in my country, it's a small country, Czech Republic, you know, 10 million people. And now we're talking about genders, of course, about that there are many more genders, how it works. People are sometimes puzzled, confused, because there are families, you know, boy and girl. And so discussion, it's very sensitive for many people, like, you know. I'm going to ask you straight, like, do you think, is it based on a reality of ourselves, like individualism, or is it only just some product of searching, of marketing, of business? You know what I've...
That's an excellent point, an excellent question. That's actually the beginning of gender, of talking about gender, about learning about gender, is being able to separate sex from gender. Okay, and whatever language. Some languages don't separate them at all, which is why gender is new in many different languages, because there's no thinking about it. Because people always just automatically think sex. It's like tantric. It's like tantric Buddhism. Sex. That's all they think about. But back to gender. So the question with sex and gender, question is male, female. Okay, in English, that's sex. It's biological. Okay. Men, their voices change as they grow older, right? Or for women, they menstruate. You know, they produce milk, right? Men do not produce milk, okay? So it's basic. It's through biology. Of course, there are differences, but that's basic. Whereas if you're talking about gender, you're talking about feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, okay?
Yeah.
So it's cultural ideas about what makes a male. How does a male perform? About what makes a female. How does a female perform in culture? Again, I'll give you an example. For example, men and women, males and females, grow hair on their legs. Okay?
Yeah.
They both grow hair. They both grow hair. Okay? However, you are feminine if you shave. You're masculine if you don't.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So you don't have to shave your legs. That's your choice, right?
Yeah.
It's a cultural expectation, right? So that's what gender is about. It's about, and it's systems of power, you know? The masculine tends to have a more powerful currency in some societies based on patriarchy. You know, that's a lot about gender. We talk a lot about that, right? Because the male is at the top. Some of my students in Japan, they sit at the table, and all of them, the children, the wife, they have to wait for the husband to start eating. And once he starts eating, they can eat. Now, what's that?
Wow. Yeah, it's very masculine. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not only talking about individuals, we're talking about whole societies. You know? And if that girl, if one of the daughters says, "Hey, Papa, you know, why? I'm hungry. I studied hard today. I want to, you know," and he's like off somewhere, and she says, "I want to eat." And everybody says, no, you know, why? And they do not have an answer. because it's natural. It's natural.
Oh,
that's just the way it is. And she shuts up.
It's a very interesting theme. I think we could talk about it for hours, because it's very, very interesting. And I see what's going on now in the world. Like, people, you know, try to find a way how to change something and to keep something. So there's some, you know, tension between that. And the last question about the cultures, Barbara, for you, is there anything what surprised you about Japan? About the, you know, you can talk in overall like Asia thinking. Like, is there anything you learned for your work, because you do these beautiful, amazing things? So what is the greatest experience you have from Japan or Asia in overall? Like,
silence. Silence. Yeah. That was the biggest thing I learned, was to be at peace with silence.
Wow. You know, it's funny, because many people write to me like how to be calm, how to relax. What is a silence for you? How did you find the way to silence? Because it can be scary, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, silence is it's a crucible. It's a crucible. You know that word, crucible? It's like a pot. It's a nabe in Japanese. Nabe. It's where you make things. You know, you make things in a pot. And silence for me is a place to make things. It's silence. I think it helps if pull in a little Buddhism here. It will help. Is you know, Buddhism for the West was born in translation, because many of the texts were translated by scholars who were interested. And so their words, their translations, then got passed down, and people continue without being aware of it to use those translations. But a translation, as you know, because you speak, obviously, Czech, English, whatever, our viewers are multilingual in some sense. So translation is important because it's based on choices. You know, which word are you going to use and how are you going to use it? And so in the early texts, mu, sunyata, mu in Japanese, which means nothing, was translated as nothing. Whereas recent scholarship, how should I say, conversation has said, wait a minute, it's not nothing, it's potential.
Oh. Wow. It's a difference. It's a quite difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's still nothing there, but it's not a dead end, it's a beginning. You see? Because that's often Buddhism was said to be nihilistic. Nietzsche talked about nihilism. I don't know if you have that in Czech.
Yeah. We know it. Nihilism. Yeah.
Yeah. So which is nothing, right? It's the philosophy of nihilism. I mean, it's intense, and that's fine. I like Nietzsche. He's fine. But for us running our everyday lives, you know, it's potential or tabula rasa. Tabula rasa, meaning there's nothing there. It's like a canvas, right? You start with a blank canvas. There's nothing there. And it's frightening. Believe me, I've been there. It's frightening. So you make your mark. Make your mark. And that can be scary. Especially when it's coming from the heart. And especially when it's coming from authenticity, and especially when it's coming into the public. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's like a nirvana word. You know, I was always thinking that nirvana means like blessing, like, you know, your freedom. But I found out in Asia that the translation can be like burned out. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
You blow out the flame. So.
I was shocked. I was like, no, it has to be like, you know, I'm going to heaven. They were like, we don't have heaven. How do you want to go to heaven? You stupid, you know? We don't have in Buddhism heaven. Like, and I was like, okay, so it's burned out. Yeah, why? And they said, because when you burn out, it's opportunity, because you can fire again anything. Like, it's you have more power when you burnt out than when you are in a big fire all the time.
Right. You're exhausted. It's exhausting.
Yeah, but for me it was shocking at the time. Like, I was like, oh,
well,
but you know, I come from the, you know, culture of Christian culture. So for me, it's a process. Like, I've been learning these 2 years a lot, Barbara. But I want to ask you, many people want to change their life. They want to become again tabula rasa, you know, the blanket, like, but they're afraid. You said, yeah, it can be scary. Why it is so scary for so many people to be in silence, to do nothing, to just quit, to just think for not 1 hour about their lives, but for 1 month, 2 months, to stop this routine? Why it is so difficult?
Oh, well, because you don't know what you will find. You don't know what's happened, and this is a 21st century situation, I think. There's so many narratives, and there's so much. I mean, everybody knows. Look at us, you know, social networking systems, the SNS in Japan. You call it that in Czech, SNS?
I think I heard of it, yeah, a little.
Look, yes, media, social media, but also consumerism, you know, this constant push, this drive to accomplish whatever the mercantile systems around you want to feed on to continue. And most of us have never actually had a choice about how much of ourselves we want to invest in that structure, in that system, capitalist, whatever you want to call it. It's different in different cultures. So when you're asking, and I would say, this is from MMTCP, I would say 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Set your phone, set a timer, get an incense stick, and time the stick so you know. When I started, I did half a stick. That's all I could do. And even that was torture. That was torture. 3 minutes was like 3 months. Because what I found, and this is not everybody, this is me, because I am me, and you are you, and you are you, everybody, you know. But for me, when I came into it and I sat, I heard so much, so many voices and so many critiques and so many, you know, go, do this. Or if you don't do that, this will happen, you know? And it was so noisy. It was so noisy that I couldn't really keep sitting. It was almost painful. It was like, jump it. You know, I've got to get, I was so stimulated, overstimulated. Now I was in New York. Okay. I was in New York City. I was in my 20s. You know, I mean, you know, so you're stimulated. Okay. It's okay. But that took me a heroic, I would say heroic effort to make it through that. And what I found was that I began to understand that one voice in particular was not mine. None of these voices actually were actually mine. They were all things I'd heard. And in good faith from my parents, from my family, from my teachers. You know, I mean, this was all, none of this is malicious, right? It's all with good intent, but it wasn't me. It was not my voice. And so it took me a long time to understand what was not my voice before I could actually get to where's my voice. So that was my experience.
Was it difficult for you to get rid of these voices? Like, what was the process of it? Because, you know, some people in community right now, they feel the world is changing, you know, that not everything what we hear is exactly, you know, what is truth, that it can be different. Like, yeah, everything is changing. And how did you survive this process of getting rid of these voices from your head? Because
well, I would, whoa, hang on.
Yeah.
Words are important, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't get rid of the voices. I didn't get rid of them. I heard them, and I listened, and I accepted. For number one, I can hear them, right?
Yeah.
And number two, these voices are not here to destroy me. They're not here to fight. And that's a decision that we all can make, right? We can all make. And some of us have challenges that others do not. And if you're dealing with trauma, or if you're dealing with any sort of personality disorder, or, you know, OCD, obsessive compulsive. I mean, there are lots, and the brain is the heart mind is a very complicated mechanism. And as long as you're clear about that, that's important. Because, and there's a lot of my MMTCP training was actually about trauma. It was actually about working consciously with trauma manifesting in individuals who want to be calm, who want to be centered, who want to be happy, and who want to be at peace. And so there is that sort of caveat there. And now I have no idea what your question was.
No, it's okay. We were talking. It leads me to the next question, which is very simple. You know, how to be calm. We were talking about how to be calm, how to really find this to be calm. Yeah.
Got it.
What do you think?
Well, the first thing is you have to practice being calm. You know, I mean, we can all get a cup of tea and, you know, chamomile or something like that. Yeah, there we go. Right. Or, you know, take a drink, or, you know, do whatever we need to do.
Drugs, you mean?
What's that?
Drugs? Like alcohol as well?
Yeah. Yeah, to get calm. To, like, after work. I used to, you know, you know, take a beer, I don't know, go out with friends, vent, drink, you know, all of that. I mean, there are many approaches to this, right? Many approaches. But if we're talking about inner peace, I mean, real inner peace, not just, you know, you wake up with a hangover and there you start all over again, right? So you're really looking for something that will stick, right? That will stay with you. Because I think a lot of the source for unhappiness is that we abandon ourselves. We abandon ourselves. And what becoming calm and becoming peaceful is about is breathe and be with. Breathe and be with. Okay? So what that means is that as you're sitting, let's say you got a cup of tea and it's a beautiful day and you're sitting outside, and as you're sitting, you're just cultivating a certain awareness of what's happening inside, right? This is your inner landscape inside. And as you sit, you breathe, and you can start with focusing on your breathing, and just do that. Because what that will show you is that, number one, you're breathing at all, right? Number one, you'll notice, hey, I'm breathing. What's that? What's that? What is that? How do I do? What is that? And you can do an inner scan. This is actually, I do this with my students initially. It's called a body scan. And what you do is you start inside. You can start at the head. You can start at the feet. You can start wherever you want. Start with your heart. And you turn your attention inward and you observe. You observe what's happening. And you just ask the question, and you just breathe and be with. And I guarantee you, anybody who takes the time to do this will notice stuff comes up. Stuff comes up. It's constantly changing. Constantly changing. And the more you practice, the more you become aware of subtleties in the way things move, in what's happening, both in your thoughts. And by the way, you don't stop thinking. That's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. I mean, if you're expecting to just bliss out into, you know, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But you come to know, you know, and you can use the time if something happened at work or with a friend, and you just bring your tea. I often, that's the way I open my days. Cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever's happening. And I sit. I happen to use a cushion. Here I use a chair. You sit on your bed. When you wake up, you don't even have to leave your bed, right? But give yourself 3 minutes and just let yourself feel your way into your body. That's a good way to start.
Thank you very much, Barbara, for sharing. Let's talk about potential, because I feel there is some connection, maybe. What do you think about being in silence, like to breathe, to consciously breathe?
Right.
Is it connected with our potential? Because many people nowadays, they are like, I want to activate my potential, you know? They're like this, I want to activate myself like some superhero, like Spider-Man or Superman.
Right. Or
Catwoman. I don't know.
It's funny you should pull in those superheroes.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Is what we're talking about. I don't know if your viewers are familiar with Joseph Campbell. He's a lovely, lovely man. He's gone now, but he wrote some lovely books about mythology. And the one I started with was Follow Your Bliss. That was what came out of it. It was called The Power of Myth. The Power of Myth. It's a lovely book. It's a coffee table book. Lots of pictures, lots of images. It's a beautiful book. I recommend that. But potential, if you look at that in English, what is it in Czech? What is potential?
Well, we say potential.
Oh, you do?
Very
okay.
similar.
So
yeah, very similar.
Oh, right. So it's potent. Potent. Right? Potent.
Potent. Yes.
Potent, right?
Yeah.
And potent means power. Power, right? Okay. So what you're talking about is activating power. Okay? You with me? So you're activating power. Now, how? The question is, how do we activate power? The authentic means, I mean, many people think money activates power, oil activates power, sun activates power, love activates power, possessions activate. I mean, there's many, many different ways of thinking about it, but I will say that these things come and go. You know, you have nighttime. There's no sun. You know, your lover will die or leave you, or, you know, your children, you will die. I mean, these things change. They go, they leave, they come, they go, right? So what you're looking to activate is the power in you. That stays. That stays. So that's why we revisit ourselves every day. Every day. You check in. You check in. You don't check out. You check in. And you might say to yourself, where is my power? Well, one place is your breath. Because if you don't have any breath, you're dead. You know? So how are you breathing? I mean, this is a small point, but for me, you know, we're talking beginning, right? Vajrayana is something entirely different. I will just drop that in there. But initially, for beginners entering Theravada, Mahayana, even Vajrayana to some degree, it starts with breath. It starts with breath. And what I realized in those years when I was in New York and in my 20s and trying to sit, what I discovered was that during the day, I held my breath. I would hold my breath for like, not minutes clearly, but for like, 10 seconds at a time. And that was putting my body under stress.
Yeah.
Imagine, right? Wholly unconscious. I didn't realize it. If I hadn't started meditating, sitting, let's just call it sitting, or mindful. Meditation tends to be religious. Mindful tends to be secular, so we'll call it mindful, whatever. Eminem. But if I hadn't sat, I might never have realized that, And that was contributing a lot to this kind of, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, because I'm not getting, right? Because I'm not getting enough air.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're looking for when you talk about potential, I'd like your viewers to think about presence. Presence. And then we could go even further. We could think about gifts, right? Presents, like Christmas, you get presents, right? Gifts. Well, your presence is a gift. And you receive that. at every moment of every second of every day.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Barbara, yeah, it was very, intensive. Very nice. Being powerful in the way we are talking now, how would you describe that statement? Like, how would you describe a person who is really inside, powerful, person who listens to inner voice, like, not afraid of being in silence? How would you describe these people? I think that you have met many of those people. You're one of them, I think. I feel that. So how would you describe that? How do you feel with them? Is there any description you can say? Like, if I'm a listener right now, I can say, okay, do I know some people around me like this I can connect with, and to share the energy with them, to just learn? Or how can I recognize it on myself that I'm in that statement?
Well, I think one way to start is to be careful about categories, about, boxes, because those boxes tend to entrap people and thinking. Okay, those boxes. So I think we have to be very careful, particularly when we're talking about spirit, we're talking about potential, we're talking about self, we're talking about non-material topics, is because the topics are non-material, there's an urge to make them material, to make them something, and presence is, we would say in English, ineffable. The nature of presence is that it's not bounded. It's not bounded. So I would say that when you're dealing with people on an everyday level, I think it's more helpful to think in terms of moments of presence. Instead of labeling somebody, oh, that guru has presence, as if it's a handbag. It's not, right? We don't own presence, right? We taste it, we share it, we may live it, right? But it cannot be bought and sold in a course, right? I mean, as a teacher, and that was the business of academia. You can't really do that. So it's an art, I would say. And we're looking at a commercialization now. Have you heard the term mindfulness?
Oh, I know mindfulness, but mindfulness? No.
As in McDonald's.
Oh, it's really connected with that. Oh.
Mindfulness. In other words, it's commodification, right?
I see.
Yeah, which is okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that, like I said earlier, we work with categories in order to learn, in order to exchange in the 3D world. The world of 3 dimensions, that's how we operate. And that's fine. That's fine. But it's just important to be humble to the awareness that that is but one way. And how presence manifests in the 3D world is but one way. right? I'm sad that got a little funny, ambiguous. Is that an answer?
No, I like it. Just you know, it's fine. I understand it. I think everyone, you know, you can write to us down how you understand this, because you know, you watch. Now you're watching us, and you have your, you know, opinions, your experience. So let's open that and write to us your opinion about this. If you have any experience,
that's a beautiful, offering each one of you could give us is, you know, just write a sentence. How do you experience presence?
Yeah.
In your life. And that's important.
It is. It's sharing. Just share it with us, guys. Thank you very much. You mostly welcomed here. And Barbara, the last question I have for you, I think we will continue next time, because I have more questions, and I think people will have more questions after this introduction. That you know, we could talk hours about these things. So guys, let us know as well if you want more topics with Barbara. Write it down. I can send you that, you know, after some time, and we can just arrange another interview.
And here's a funny one. Let me just bracket here. Quest. What is question in Czech?
Otázka.
Otázka. Oh, looks kind of similar, because I hear task. Yeah, I hear task.
Otázka. Yeah, it's there. It's otázka. It's task. Like, yeah, in there. And in English, exactly. Like something to do, to do. And in English, quest is in question, and a quest is a journey. It's a travel, you know. So asking questions is where you begin a journey, right? Yeah, it's exciting. So let's start the journey to the last topic I'm having for you. Nature's narrative here, I went through. At the end, there is a may you be well, may you live in peace, may you be at ease, may you thrive.
Yes.
So I think we can have many different opinions about many things, but I think what connects people in one way, on one layer, is that we are trying to find happiness, you know, to be happy.
Oh yeah.
So the question is how to be happy. Sorry for that. Final question. Like,
it's okay. It's okay. Okay. Let me start with, you pointed out that's called metta. METTA, that little verse on the back that you read. Thank you for that. That's a practice. It's called metta, and metta, I believe, is Pali, and it's a practice of compassion. And I think one of the ways to be happy, oh my gosh, this goes on for just so much. There's so much discourse. Oh my God. It's called the wisdom tradition. Wisdom tradition. And the wisdom tradition has gone on for thousands of years. And we tend to originate it in India with the Vedic teachings. And so it changes them all. So there are volumes and volumes written in Egyptian, Tibetan, Pali. I mean, there's just so much about wisdom and about how to be happy. First of all, I think it's important for each one of us to look at that word happy, because I think that gets used a lot. And to be authentic, I think each of us needs to inquire for ourselves, what exactly is happy? You know, and I think we should give ourselves permission to change that word, to change it. Because happiness is a feeling. For me, I should say for me. Happiness comes and goes. It's like this breeze that's coming through the house right now. It's wonderful. I love it. But it's not always there. It's not always there. Okay? So if I really want to be happy, it's not about that, because that comes and goes. So then we have to drop down to another level, and we have to say, okay, so then what's underneath happy? What's underneath that? And then we can say, well, I want to be pain-free, right? Is that it? Or I want to be safe. What is that? Or I want to be free. What is that? Okay. Because I think happy is a little difficult because it's so tied into consumerism, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so embedded, and it's used and abused.
Yeah.
So,
right.
so I think, yeah, right. So I think part of the process, and that's what keeps us inauthentic, right? Because we're all like, well, I want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? Oh yeah, we want to be happy. You know, happy. Yeah.
Everyone.
And what do you don't want to be happy? What kind of weirdo are you? You know.
Yeah.
So
why you are not happy? Why you are not happy? You know.
I don't want to be around you. You're not happy.
Yeah.
And what's that about?
No.
You know, so happiness is creating separation. Happiness is creating pain. That's not happy. That is not happy, if you ask me. So there's some inquiry there, and you have to keep your antennae up, you know. And I don't mean paranoia. I'm not talking about that, but I'm just saying, take it in, and really sit with what you're doing, what you want to do, how you want to be, how you want to act, right? And that's important. And I will also say, coming back to that meta, this happiness, whatever that is, resides in relation. Okay? Resides in relation. So I think that it's not, for me, it's not 100% possible to be happy if I am not in relation to X, Y, Z, at least as a human in this lifetime. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think that we are having now a nice topic for next interview about relations, because it can be, you know, it can be it's huge relationships between people, but you can have relation to universe, to nature.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So it's many layers.
Yeah. Like and I'll drop a word in there just because I sense we're closing up. The word, this is another what drew me to Japan that now I can articulate. The word for human in Japanese, in English, human comes from humus, which means earth. Humus is a kind of dirt. I don't know what's Czech. What is the word for human?
Země, půda, země.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously ground. Okay. Yeah.
Ground, right? Same, same. Basically, Western. So you occupy ground, right? Whereas the word in Japanese is hito, ningen, and gen means the space between, an interval, space, an interval. So the word for human means a person in between. So in other words, a person is in between something. It's always relational. Hito, space. So they're always aware in the and it's not even conscious, I would say, because it's embedded in the language. Ningen means the spaces between people.
It was wonderful. It's really amazing. I think these mythologies and legends and traditions go very, very deep to our hearts. And it can tell a lot of things. We were talking about it with people here in Thailand. Like, when you look back to Egypt or all civilizations all around the world, that I was shocked, Barbara, because, for example, in Egypt, like for 3,000 years ago, before Christ, so they had schools, and there were like students, and they chose right people for studying the mythologies and magic and healing based on their sensitivity. Sensitivity. Thank you very much. They chose the boys and girls like based on sensitivity for studying these things. It was amazing. I was shocked. Like, no logical thinking, no rational thinking, but how they felt the world, how they felt themselves. It's wow. Like thousands years ago, and they tried to learn how to be full of tolerance to people, the world. And I was really out of my mind. It blew my mind. I was like shocked. And I checked the Harvard and everything. Like, okay, we have universities. Okay, I don't want to criticize. Okay,
right,
good. But we forgot so many things.
I know.
I have this feeling that we forgot. And there is sometimes I really think, why do some people, powerful people, they don't want to go back and to tell the truth about our soul? Like, why do we concentrate so much on how you said, to buy this, to have money, to have this, the blah, blah, blah. And do we not care for this? But this is not my emotions right now. Do you have any reflection of it? Like, what do you think, Barbara? How do you feel about it when I'm talking about it?
Well, I think what's happened. Let's see, where do I start? I could start with Descartes. Do you know Rene Descartes? Right.
Yeah, cogito ergo sum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he he bless his heart, Descartes, bless your heart. He basically decapitated. I mean, I think, therefore I am. So that separated this brain intellect, right, from the body, right, as a thinking tradition. And the thinking, the rational, the reasonable, there's nothing wrong with it. But when it's overemphasized, it's too much, then there's an imbalance. Okay, there's an imbalance. And I also think that talking about consumerism, it's kind of a whim-wham, because consumerism is really about desire, right? So consumerism is about how to create desire, right? Because, you're looking at, I mean, what's the difference between this bowl okay, and this bowl, right? I mean, they're both bowls, right? They both hold things, right? But how we think about this bowl and how we think about that bowl makes them different. I don't eat from this bowl, right? I would never eat. I would, okay, that's that bowl. This bowl, and you know, so what the consumerism does is it creates ideas about things that makes us, oh, if I'm going to be happy, I need this bowl, which is okay, you know, up to a point. But when you then think every time I'm unhappy, I need another bowl, that can become an addiction, you know? And so the powers around us have become more and more adept, more and more skillful about managing our desire, about creating a desire. I mean, why do I need 2 bowls? One is enough to eat. That's all I need. Oh, but what if I have guests? What happens then? Well, get another bowl. But what kind of bowl? I don't know. Whammo, everything comes in. You go on the web. You've got green, you've got glass, you've got ceramic, you've got metal, you've got this bowl. And why do you want that bowl? You want this bowl because of this, and this bowl because of that. It could be utilitarian. It could be beautiful. It could be a fur-covered bowl. I mean, Jesus, you know?
Yeah,
but it hooks us.
Yeah, it's like my friend, he told me once, because he was working in marketing and still is working in marketing. Mm-hmm. He told me like that basically we're not set up for buying new stuff, but we were learned to buy new stuff. That,
yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? That we will
programmed.
Yeah, programmed, exactly. So
yeah.
that, yeah, this is like a never-ending run. Like you need to change. There was a time, but you know, my parents, there was a time, and my grandpa and granny, when they bought something, they really kept it. Like they believed they bought it for good money, and they were like, we will have it like not 2 years, but 20, 30 years. And if it's something happens to it, we will repair it.
Right.
But I feel that time is away. Like for many states, many people, that we like change to do these things.
Well, and Tomáš, that's what we're going to come back to, relation, right?
Oh, yeah. Relation.
Your grandparents and my parents as well, they had a relationship with their things, with their, I mean, I have friends, maybe your viewers can relate to this. I have a car here in Koh Samui, a truck really, and her name is Sophie.
Nice name.
And I have a relationship with my car.
It's nice.
You know, because she carries me around, she protects me. When I get in her in the morning, and I'll say, hey, you know, I'll talk to her when nobody's in the car, right? You know, I'll say, hey, Soph, how you doing? How you doing?
It's
you
nice.
know? And well, it enlivens my day. And I have had cars that have saved my life.
Wow. Nice, Sophie. Nice, Sophie. I pray for Sophie. And I think that it comes to our relationships between, you know, us, because you know, I see many people, they are like, I want to be loved, and I go for dating. I met so many people. I had a relationship like for 1 month, 1 week. We tried, you know, to have a sex and everything, and it didn't work. But I always, you know, I imagine my granny like that time, like she's in the village and sleep with every boy from every family, writing letters to every boy like, do I like you? Is your body perfect? You know, your teeth? Like, it was different, absolutely different. I don't want to say it was better or worse, because everything has its like dynamic, you know. But it's yeah, I think it's very right to say that our behavior is changing, and it's good to ask the question if it's changing in a way we are happy. We are,
and in a way that's
happy.
and in a way that's helpful. That's helpful. And I think it's important to include the other. You know, this whole discourse about self and other, and that's running around the world. That's all over the world. AI is other, you know, but the point of that is that AI is us, right? Yeah. Your relationship with your boyfriend is about you. It's about how you show up in that relationship. It's how you speak. You know, it's not, we say, you don't outsource yourself, right? You don't outsource anything. You know, it comes from here.
Yeah. It's a reflection, like all the time. I feel it as a reflection. Wow.
And now people do lend themselves, you know, and we've all had relationships that didn't work out, but hopefully that relationship taught you something about yourself, and you were able to learn from that. That's all.
Barbara, thank you very much for your time. It's a great honor. It's a great honor having you here, and to have opportunity to speak about it openly, to share ideas. Thank you very much for that. I put the link on your website below the video. So guys, if you want, you can check Barbara. You can check. It's very check, like, you know, we are Czech and we check.
Yeah, you check.
Yeah. Just check Barbara. And you can connect with her. She's very beautiful, lovely person. I'm very happy I met you here, Barbara. Actually, we're going to meet today, so it's funny.
Yes.
So I'm very happy. And so if you want to continue, guys, with the interview, just let us know. Write to me, message what topic you are involved in, you would like to discuss, and I can connect with Barbara. And if she is willing, we can continue with that. So thank you very much. And thank you for sharing, guys. Thank you for any comments. Thank you for subscribe. Thank you very much. Barbara, is there anything you would like to add? Something came into your mind, like you would like to share at the end of this interview?
Oh, it's been so full. Well, I'll drop in. I recently did a ceremony, and what came through for me was fruition. Fruition, right? And in whatever you do, you know, think about that ripening. That ripening. It's very subtle. Very subtle.
Thank you.
With that.
Thank you very much. And see you soon, guys, in another interview with anyone. Thank you for your time that you spent with us. It was a gift.
Yes. Thank you for your presence.
For your presence. Yes. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you, Tomáš.